The Mexican cartel apologized to the United States. Let's go ahead and break down this story. So what you have to realize, this is a very, very complex situation. You have Mexican cartel members giving an apology letter to the United States, and Mexico, the country itself, is also annoyed at the United States. Now, let's state the obvious. The United States is pissed off at the Mexican cartel for kidnapping American citizens, harming American citizens, and not only that, a Mexican citizen was harmed. And the response was actually pretty strong from the United States. In fact, a little surprising. Senator Graham said, "I'm going to propose a bill, and we are going to deem the Mexican cartel terrorists." Now, the way the Mexican cartel essentially apologized to the United States was rather interesting. They tied up the members who did it and posted a picture of them with an apology letter that read, "We have decided to turn over those who were directly involved and responsible in the events, who at all times acted under their own decision-making and lack of discipline." Now, we can only speculate that the Mexican cartel, they did all of this because the United States said, "We're going to deem you terrorist." Again, speculation. We don't know why they apologized, but they did. What's also really interesting to note is that the cartel is really showing what they're all about. They are a business, they're trying to make money, they're trying to sell drugs, and the cartel does not just allow members to do violence on other people. Now, this all comes together because Senator Graham didn't necessarily say, "This one particular event is why we're calling you terrorist." His actual main campaign to call cartel terrorist is all the drugs coming into America. Now, there hasn't been a response from the government or the United States being like, "Hey, thank you for the apology letter." We don't know what's going to happen because, again, this has been brewing for a while, but it is interesting to see that the cartel took care of the situation on their own and they're like, "Hey, we are sorry." But why would the Mexican government be mad at the United States for wanting to deem the Mexican cartel terrorists? Now, first thing is first, regardless of the shady past between the Mexicans and the United States and how we sort of took their land, the United States and Mexico has an okay relationship. Like, there's cooperation between U.S. businesses providing jobs to Mexicans in their own country, the border mission that's going on between the United States and Mexico, there's some decent cooperation there. However, Mexico did not like the fact that the United States said, "Hey, we would like to go into Mexico and take out these terrorists, the cartel." The Mexican president himself had this to say about the United States wanting to go into Mexico: "We are not going to allow any foreign government to intervene, much less a foreign government's armed forces." He also said, "We are not a protectorate," which means like we technically control them and they're not their own sovereign nation of the United States, nor a colony of the United States. Mexico is a free and independent sovereign state. So from a U.S. perspective, when I say U.S., I mean the citizens, it's really hard to understand why wouldn't the Mexico want help from the United States? "We're going to take out these cartel members for you." But we do need to realize the situation down there is very hit or miss. Like, there is a respect for the cartel and no respect for the cartel, and it's a very difficult situation to deal with the cartel. Now, I'm going to be honest, I do not think the right move is to deem cartel members terrorists. I think that is an act of violence. I think that puts Mexico in a weird position. Like, all of a sudden, "Hey, Mexico, you have all these terrorists." And a lot of Mexican citizens don't see cartel as terrorists. They just see them as a bunch of guys who are trying to make money in an odd way. Also, I think that puts a lot of U.S. military members who are on the border in a situation like Afghanistan, and for soldiers who were watching the Afghanistan-Pakistan border, it was not a good time. We also need to understand the Mexican cartel situation is not so black and white. Like, you have some Chinese influence involved, you have Colombia and all those farmers down in South America involved. It's not just like, "Hey, the Mexican cartel, those are the terrorists." Does that mean all of the associates to the terrorist are now in trouble, like drug runners going up into Chicago? Where do we cut the line of who's associated with these terrorists? I also don't think the U.S. is actually equipped to fight a force like the cartel, and let me explain this. When you look into the cartel doing acts of violence, it's usually in favor to a particular situation that will help them out. Like, if one of their members screwed them over, obviously something bad will happen to them. Or these members of the cartel who acted out on their own, "Hey, here's our apology letter, you deal with them." It's acts of violence like that. The US military and the US government, when they deal with terrorists like ISIS or Al Qaeda, the acts of violence are like, hey, these guys just try to take out a small village and poison everyone's water. And yes, a lot of these terrorist organizations, they do make money through drugs, but they also have a lot of religious ideologies. Whereas a lot of people, and Mexican citizens in particular, they don't necessarily see the cartel as that bad of guys. It's just don't talk to them and don't mess with them and nothing will happen to you. And something that I just see so much different from the cartel being terrorists compared to the Taliban, Al-Qaeda. Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they were fighting with the most minimal of weapons, but they had the biggest motivation, and that was their religion. The cartel are not selling fentanyl and cocaine in the name of Jesus, because I'm going to assume a lot of them are Catholic, considering almost all of Mexico is Catholic. They are trying to make money, but if you screw them over, they will get violent, almost like the mafia and other groups like that. Again, this is all my opinion. I don't think there is an easy answer for anyone, but I do lean more on the side of let's not deem them as terrorists, but maybe we can pull some more government resources to help people with drug addiction and maybe try to talk to the cartel. And I know that sounds silly, but when you look at the Afghanistan war, towards the end of the war, we were actually able to negotiate with the Taliban to like, hey, leave us alone, you deal with your own people. So yeah, that's the video. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. My name is T-SPLY, and I hope to see you later.